Okay, I'm gonna set my Ubuntu server. Go to my snapshots, snapshot manager, and pre-package management. That's just where I have mine. And I'll go back to that, and I'm gonna power on my virtual machine. The server certainly shuts down really quickly, at least on my machine.
All of these are nice and here.
I'm sorry?
It's the same. I have 81 factors can be up.
And even booting, I mean, it's like really fast. So I'm gonna log in, and my password is password. 80 updates possible, 35 updates or security updates, and so on. I am, in fact, just to making sure that I do get the latest packages as I do need them later on. I'll update the repositories. How do I do that again? Okay, before I do the apt-get though, sudo, and then apt-get. And normally it would just be apt-get if we were the root user. Ubuntu doesn't have a root user, the account is disabled, so we have to use sudo for pretty much everything. Sudo apt-get, update, that's pretty much all you have to do. Enter your password, which is password. Now this is not doing a system upgrade, so it's not having to download all those 80 packages and install them. We will be doing this later on again, so we do an upgrade and install the desktop again just as a practice, and that would be a good time to take another snapshot as well. So the update's pretty good. And so we are familiar with, or hopefully you were introduced to VI, the VI editor. If I type in VI, actually I should do sudo VI, you can see that's actually been improved or replaced with Vim. And so everything on the Ubuntu server is going to be using Vim instead of the VI editor. And it's going to be the same commands, essentially the same commands. The most important one is the :q enter. That's the biggest thing that people get into an editor and have no idea how to get out. Is it escape, control C, F10, end, exit, or whatever. And so that's one of the biggest things I remind you is how to get in and out of these different editor things. I do have for you, you can download it and keep it or view it or print it out. You have a Vim quick reference guide. And it's a PDF file, so like I said, you can download it or whatever. It's a little cumbersome to initially start with. It's like, wow, look at all those commands. But it is broken down pretty nicely into just the basic movements, sort of airing around or whatever. Inserting and replacing is a really important mode itself. Yes?
These printouts, are we allowed to use those when we take our final?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because I have the other ones I printed out.
Yeah, any printouts that you have, reference guides, quick starts, whatever. And so I printed those out. This is one of the better ones that I actually found. Especially it talks about the inserting and replacing, which is most of the editing that you're doing. You want to add stuff to a text, or you want to type over text or whatever, so you want to be getting in there. And then the next most important is on the second page on here. It's going to be hard to see on the screen, and I apologize for that. Are these X commands. You're executing things of saving a file, the colon W for writing to a file, and then the colon Q for exiting. Just knowing how to do those basic functions are very, very important. So switching back to my server. If I want to start editing, I want to get into the edit mode or the insert mode by typing the letter A. Oh, I need to click inside here first. And now on the bottom it says insert. So it's going to insert, it's going to start typing whatever I want to type on here. If I was going to save this file, I could. I'm not going to this point. I just really want to get out of here. So I hit the escape key. Escape key is going to get me back into my X mode or my execution mode. And now I can do Control Q. Yes.
I'm still on that screen where it says open children in.
Help the poor children? I don't remember getting that. Where did it say that?
I typed in VI like you said, and it comes up Vim VI improve.
Poor children in Uganda.
So yeah, it's like it says hit Q to enter to exit, and I did. You said type A, and I don't see it because I don't have a.
Just type A, though, then it'll take you there.
Just type A.
I missed the whole Uganda thing.
At the top of his.
I wasn't even reading it.
It says sponsored.
Oh, sponsored.
Development.
Okay.
It says help the children of Uganda.
Oh, I wasn't even paying
So you
attention.
type A to get
Just
to
hit the letter A.
Okay, it says insert.
Right. Start typing.
Okay, so that just hit A takes me into where again?
Into an insert mode. Into an editing mode. So you really have two modes. There's really technically three modes, but there's two modes that we're working with. There's an insert mode, which lets me type stuff or change stuff or insert new information, whatever, or the execute mode, command mode essentially, and that lets me do things like opening a file, deleting, oh not deleting, opening a file, writing to a file, quitting without writing to a file, you know, whatever. Now if I hit, now let me just finish this up and then we'll start just the process again. So if I hit the :Q, because I'm in command mode or the execute mode, it's going to give me an error saying, well, you know what, you didn't save this. And then it says, oh, you know, if you want to overwrite that and just say, I want to quit anyway, you know, and all those commands are that way, are with the exclamation mark. I'm forcing this to happen. So again, you just type :Q exclamation mark, and now it exits you out of the Vim editor. So let me just do this again. So since we know that VI really doesn't exist, that it's really Vim. Here, let me move my screen over a little bit. Since it's really Vim, I can just type Vim. If I know the file that I'm working with, I could type that in as well. And I'll just do this as a quick example. I'll do the Etsy host file because I know that's out there. So it's /Etsy and then hosts. And we will be actually playing with this later on. So don't change anything in here yet. And I hit enter, and now there's your document. I can use the arrow keys and arrow around. But if you notice that, you know, if I start typing like, oh, I want to add another host on here, I'm typing 1, 2, 7 and nothing happens. That's because you're not in an editing mode or an insert mode. You want to get into an insert mode or an edit mode by, and then they have that whole section there. You can do an I for insert or an A for add. There's a technical difference. Anybody know the technical difference? The I inserts before the cursor. The A inserts after the cursor. So it's kind of weird. So if I'm on the 7 and I do an I, it's going to insert it before the 7. If I do an A, it's going to do it after. Just get in the habit of doing A. It's the standard one, and all the documentation that you get, they say enter insert mode by hitting A. It's a little confusing, but think of it as add. So I'm just going to hit A down here, and now as I start typing, I can type in 127 dot whatever, whatever, whatever. After I'm in here editing, it's just like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I just want to get out of here. Well, you hit the escape key. The lower left-hand corner shows them in insert mode right now. If I hit escape, I'm actually in a command mode now. And when I'm in command mode, I can do a lot of those, and most of those commands start with a :. I can write to that file, or I can, you know, any number of things there. The most common ones are writing or quitting. I want to quit, and it's going to say, but you didn't save this file, you really shouldn't quit. And I say, I know I didn't save this file, but I want to quit anyways, even without saving. So then I do the :Q exclamation mark. I'm forcing you to quit without writing to it. So now my Etsy file never got, my host file really never got updated. Okay? So that's the first one I want you to play with, and just, you know, looking through that cheat sheet, Remember what you remember. Try not to save any files. I'm sorry. You can save files. Don't edit any files, especially like the Etsy hosts file. Like start changing things in there. We will be getting into that, but just sort of be careful. Just make up files. Rename them someplace else. Open up, create a text file, and save it, and then reopen it or whatever. Just sort of get into the editor again. The second I want to talk about is Emacs. In fact, part of that video that we had last week, it talked about Emacs. The guy, what's the guy's name again? Just a complete blank. Anyway, actually developed it, and there's lots and lots of variations of there. And it's actually a very, very, very powerful editor. So, because it's so popular and lots of people refer to it, I want you to at least be exposed to it. If I, just to clear my screen, my server screen, you can use a clear command. If it gets a little like, it's like, what's on my screen? Is that a command? It just sort of clears things off and a little less intimidating. Sometimes you're thinking, oh, there's so much stuff. Just clear and you're back to your simple prompt. Well, if I want to run Emacs, just like I typed VI before to run VI and it says, oh, there's Vim, I can do the same thing for Emacs, except it's going to tell me that it's not found. But it can be in any one of these packages. So now we're going to install one of these. Well, which ones do we install? Emacs and then the version number are the most standard ones. And right now, I think that it's released Emacs 24. It's actually 2.4. But still, with our updates, we have Emacs 2.3. There's an Emacs 2.3 and then an Emacs 2.3-Knox. The Knox actually stands for No X, or No X window. Emacs 23 is actually the graphical user interface version of it. So if you're running the GNU desktop, it's going to, that's what you would run. And it's a fully functional graphical user interface text editor. But we don't like those. We're going to keep it with text-based and make it really difficult and complicated, only because that's how we live in the world of Linux in a very streamlined, efficient manner. Actually, that makes a little bit more sense later on when we talk about remote administration, when we have just SSH connections and, we're doing commands. And we don't have a graphical user interface to really interact with. Well, we do kind of next week. And so we want to get comfortable with the things that we don't know and at least be exposed to it. We can always find the easy ways later on, but it's much more difficult to just learn the complex ways on your own or whatever. So we need to install one of these, and we want to install the Knox version or the No X for No X Windows. So that's going to be just the straight command line one. So always start with sudo and then apt-get, and we're going to install a package, and we want to install the Emacs 23-Knox. So sudo apt-get install Emacs 23-Knox. It does a quick check and then says, do you want to continue? I hit yes. It's a pretty quick install. Again, most of these applications are written for very limited resources, so it's a very, very small application. Sudo apt-get install Emacs 23. Oh,
I love it when that happens.
is it a shutdown process or just turned off? I wonder if Windows decided that it's just time to do an update, or because I know what's best for you.
And yes, right? Yes.
It's hard to say. Since it didn't actually install, all you have to do is just run it again.
I don't care if I screwed up. I have like little versions of this thing. Yeah. But I'm trying to take notes while he's doing it.
Yes, it is hard to do it while you're taking notes. That's another reason why I try to record it.
Are you recording right now?
I am.
Just without the headset?
Without the headset.
Is it live or is it memorized?
It's hard to tell. Okay, it's again a pretty quick and easy install. The most important things that I want to show you is how to get into it and how to get out of it. And then you'll have a whole another sheet. Let's see here. Under Learning Plan 5, in addition to your Vim Quick Reference Guide, you also have an Emacs Quick Reference Guide. As long as I'm showing this to you, there's a guy who put together a 30-minute tutorial on Vim. And he takes you through very, very slowly, methodically, of just showing you some very, very basics of it. I would strongly encourage you to watch that. Even if you're familiar with it or semi-familiar with it, it's just a really good review because it's just one of those things that's a good thing to know. It's not the most intuitive in the world by any means, and that's why the more ways of hearing it or seeing it is definitely recommended. So I think they did a good job with it. Okay, moving back to the server. My virtual machine, my server. I have two ways of running Emacs. One is I could actually run, Emacs sudo Emacs 23-Nox and hit enter. And it brings you into the Emacs editor. Somewhat similar to Vim. I can arrow around. What's nice about this is these are actual links. So I don't have to type in commands to get the tutorial or the manual or the copying conditions or opening new files or whatever. I can do it through these blue links, which is pretty nice. So if I wanted to open my home directory and navigate for a file, I just click on here, and then I can go to a directory or to an individual file. Here's profile, and so here's the profile file. So it's kind of like a file menu in a text-based kind of way. And anyway, the way to get out of Emacs is you want to hold down the control key and then hit X, and then hold down the control key and hit C. And when you do the control X, nothing really happens, so you're not sure what's going on. It could eventually show up in the left-hand corner, but the control C is what's going to take you out of there. That's the command. There's a naming convention with all of their documentation for Emacs. They use a C, a capital C dash, and then a letter, and then use an M, and then a capital M, a dash, and a letter. So if you're looking at documentation, in fact, let me go back into here. As long as I'm going back in, I can show you the other way of getting in. The other way is just simply doing sudo Emacs. Yes?
All right. Control X, then Control C.
Control X, let go. Hold on the control, hit C. That's the combination of getting out of there. If I type clear here too, it's just going to clear the screen and just keep my prompt. I had a prompt at the bottom of the screen, but it's just like, what? So I use clear a lot. The other way is doing sudo Emacs. It knows it's a module of it, and it brings me to the same place. So it's not a different version. It brings me back into the version 2.3 of Emacs. Oh, I guess it is 23. I was wrong. I apologize. It is Emacs 23, not 2.3.
So
I was mistaken.
Sudo Emacs takes us right back.
Yep, it does. If I go to the tutorial, it's a really good tutorial. Lengthy, but really good. If I hit enter on Emacs tutorial, you can see this. And this is the part that I'm talking about. This is the naming convention in all of the tutorials documentation and any reference guide that you'll ever see referring to Emacs. You have C and then a dash and then a character and then an M and a dash. This is your control key. That's a simple one. So control C, control X, control M, control W, those are all your control keys. M dash is your Alt key. So, not sure why not Alt or A. It actually is for your meta key, and I'm not sure if on Unix computers, and I don't know the history of this, if there's actually a meta key that you hold down, but in our world we're using the Alt key. So just anytime you see M-S, it's Alt S, or Alt T, or Alt V, or anything like that. You can arrow around as you arrow up and down. You know, here's a perfect example. This is Control V, and this is Alt V. Control V and Alt V.
What screen are you in that you're?
What screen am I in?
Yeah.
On the tutorial right now. Yeah. So if you found the tutorial, yeah, you arrow down to the tutorial. That little blue thing's a link. You click on it, and it will bring you into it then. And the only reason I'm introducing this to you is because it's extremely popular, and a lot of Ubuntu server stuff manuals and guides refer to Emacs. It is a more powerful editor, but it's going to be different. So none of your commands are going to work in the same commands. So here's a summary of moving back and forward from beginning of a character, beginning of a word, to the next line, to the beginning of a line, to the beginning of a sentence or end of a sentence, and so on.
You have to do something to reset so I can see your screen.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay, let me just switch that. Yeah, sometimes it'll come back if you wait, but I'll just turn it off now and turn it back on. Now? No. We're going to wait. It'll pop up eventually. Again, if you want to go out, though, it's Control X and then Control C, and it just takes you back to the command prompt. And it didn't save anything because I didn't tell it to save. So, and again, nothing shows up. Control X, Control C, it just sort of does it. Yes?
So say for instance, I'm looking at it, it says type, or not type, it says C. I'm not sure if it's capital. It looks like capital C/V/1 screen fully just type.
Control V. Control V. Control V. Control V.
C, it says C/V.
Right. The C stands for control. The control key. Here, let me get back into there again.
Right.
M stands for Alt, and that's right the first page of the manual. What didn't work? Oh, I think you did Control C twice. And Control C doesn't do anything. You have to do Control X, Control C. Okay, the other tricky key is to sort of, I'm lost, get me out of here, is Control G. the kind of, I'm lost, I messed up, I have no idea what I'm doing or what I should do or shouldn't do, and Control G. So I do Control G, and now you're in basic editing mode, so if you're doing another command, and now you should be able to do Control X and then Control C. So if there's something in the buffer, like a command, or you're trying to do something else, you know, it just gets messed up. So Control G didn't work, and then Control X, Control C. You have to let go of the control each time.
Yep.
No?
Okay. Don't do that. I will start yawning.
Now do...
And then my eyes start watering. I'll be like,
Yeah, that's it.
Sean's not here to slap me.
You actually did great.
You did great.
I
Try to
like
do
how
it.
thanks.
That was it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did it
maybe.
before. So
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe
And
I
then,
did.
But Sean was
It's
careful
just
to knock my glasses off. He's very clear.
there,
Yeah.
and then you can go back into it once you go through those. Yeah, there's a lot of commands that happen in the background
So did we find it?
that it's actually buffering everything, and until it finally gets the right sequence, then it executes it. It's kind of weird. If you ever get lost in there, like, what? What's it doing? The Control G is what will clear that, and yes.
So you can Control G.
At least $10 more.
Now,
It
hit
quit. and then I hit Control C, and now
No, you have to do Control X, Control C.
It came really fast.
Control G, then Control X.
And then Control C.
Everyone had less index.
Ah, yeah. Intuitive, isn't it? G for get out of here, and then X for I want to execute a command, and then C for close.
I think the X would be for next.
What was there?
G, get out of here.
Yes.
X for I want to execute a command, and C for close. I want to close.
Gotcha.
So just say my name.
I have that stuff right now. Control
Okay.
X, Control C.
It's on the Emacs reference card, so you can take a look at that as well. And again, you can do it right from the command line. I'm just looking at the Etsy host file because that's just one thing that we'll be using later on. Oh, I have to actually do the command. Sudo emacs Etsy host is the file. It brings up the host file. You can go in here, and this one you can just start typing in. You don't have to go into an insert mode. You're sort of just there automatically. Now if I do a Control X and then a Control C, it asks me, do I want to save the file, yes or no? And I'm going to say no in this case. So even that's a little bit nicer than the Vim. It's going to say, you didn't save it. Oh, you have to go back and save it. And then you quit, unless you want to quit without saving, and then you use the exclamation mark. Here it actually prompts you, do you want to save it or not? And I'm going to say no. Modified buffers exist. Exit anyway. Yes. Oh, yes or no. Yes. And now it brings you back. Okay. I want you to take you a few minutes. Opening a document, shutting a document. Just start typing in a document from creating a new document. Try saving a file. Keep track of where you're saving it, and then trying to open that file again. Just getting in and out and really, really, really basic editing. I want you working with a partner and using those reference guides to sort of figure some things out. So that's sort of the goal, first of all. Questions on that? Both. I want you doing Vim and Emacs. Be able to spend today just on this and skip networking.
I don't know. Control